Hello everyone, welcome to the IELTS Multi-Step program. Today we're going to be dealing with an essential part of the writing task, which is the writing task 1. To begin with, the writing task 1 is different from both the academic module and the general training module. For the purpose of this video, we're going to be focusing on the academic writing task 1. This is a task that essentially requires you to describe visual information that is provided in a question. It's a very direct task that does not require you to do so much language manipulation as much as you would do in the writing task 2, which is the opinion essay. However, it has its own peculiar needs, which we will be addressing today with the strategies and tips that I will give you that will ensure success in your IELTS test. Remember, all we are about here on this channel is to provide you with the success strategies and tips that will instantly shoot you from a band 6 or band 6.5 to a band 9. Please ensure that you do not just watch this video and listen to the strategies. Endeavor to also put them into practice by writing as much as possible, practicing the reading test as much as possible, practicing the speaking with an accountability partner that you would have, and also practicing the listening test for you to maximize the value that will be gotten from this video. The writing task 1 requires you to interpret various types of data. I will be giving you a list of all the data types that could come out in your academic writing task 1, and I will also be telling you what each data type entails. The first and most common is the pie chart. The pie chart entails you to compare relative data and show percentages. You could also be given a bar chart or a bar graph, which compares different items in general or to show change over time. You could also be given a line graph, which shows change over time, specifically just shows a change in a particular concept or location over time. You could also be given tables, which presents numerical data provided together with a graph or a chart. You could also be given a diagram, or you could be given diagrams, which usually show processes or parts of a particular machine or an item, which you will be asked to describe. And lastly, you will be given maps, which definitely shows a location or directions, and you will be required to describe the information that you can see on the question paper. The first thing that you must do when you get your paper is to interpret the question. Interpretation of the question is the single most essential thing that you need to do before and even after you start your answer. Interpreting the question sets you up for success because it gives you time to look at the question carefully, to be able to touch on the 3 most important things that the academic writing task 1 question asks. What are the 3 important things? You are asked to summarize the main details or the relevant details, make comparisons where relevant, and report on the main features. You are asked to summarize the relevant or the details that are important. Also, make comparisons where relevant or necessary, and give an overview of the main features. You must do this for you to get full scores for task achievement. For the academic writing task 1, task achievement is the most important criteria on which you are assessed. Did you fully achieve the purpose for which the task has been set up? This is the first question that the examiner asks himself when he finishes reading your answer for the writing task 1. Now, your data that you are given is broadly divided into two areas. You could have dynamic or static data. Static data usually just presents information or data about a particular place, about a particular period, about a particular location at one point in time. Dynamic data usually involves changes or fluctuations in the data that has been presented, and this usually puts you in a much more precarious position, as the comparisons that you're making has to show that it reflects the change or fluctuations in time. The two key things that you must know are this. When you're interpreting the question, the key instructions are summarize, select, report, and make comparisons on the main features only. I'll take those things again. When you're interpreting the questions, the key instructions are as follows: summarize, select, report, and make comparisons on the main features only. When you do this, you will be said to have successfully answered the question. The two key things that you need to do to get maximum scores for task achievement are write an open introduction. Write an opening introductory sentence. I'll take that again. You're writing an opening introductory sentence and also write an overview. What's the difference between these two things? An opening introductory sentence is a sentence that paraphrases the question, that paraphrases the description of the visual information that you can see. The table above shows the number of people who attended church services between 2017 to 2018 in Melbourne, Australia. That sentence is an introductory sentence that successfully paraphrases or describes the visual information that you can see. You will not get full marks for task achievement if you do not put in this introductory statement. It is an essential part of your writing task 1 answer. The second thing that you need to do to get full marks for task achievement is to write an overview. An overview simply is a summary of the main features that you can see in the visual data presented. A summary of the main features that you can see in the visual data that has been presented as the question. Avoid putting irrelevant details. Avoid making comparisons. Avoid making explanations. Avoid putting supporting details or your opinions at this point. You do not need any of that. In fact, your writing task 1 for the academic module does not in any way require you to express your opinion. Opinions have no place in the academic writing task 1. I'll take them again. You are to write an opening introductory sentence which describes the data that you can see. And after that, you write an overview which summarizes the main features of the data that you can see. In the table above, the number of people that went to the cinemas, that attended church services in the morning, is significantly higher than any other period of church attendance. That is the main features that you can see, because if you look at the question, you could see that probably the number of churchgoers in the daytime is 1,000, while the number of churchgoers in the evening is 50, the number of churchgoers in the afternoon is 100, the number of churchgoers on Sundays is... So all those other ones are irrelevant. They are minor details. The main feature that you can see there is that people who attended church services in the daytime is the highest that you can see there. And that is the main feature that you are reporting in your overview. Another easy way to express the overview is to look at the highest point and the lowest point in the data that has been presented and just mention that in your overview. When you move away from that, your overview should not be more than 1 to 3 sentences that summarize the main features. Please, as much as possible, do not skip this part. One thing that most people have a challenge with when it comes to writing task 1 for the academic module is the language of numbers. Ideally, the information that you've been given, the question that you've been given, usually involves data, figures, digits, numbers that you have to express or you have to analyze by summarizing, selecting, reporting, and making comparisons of the relevant or the main features only. What do I mean by the language of numbers? Numbers can be written in words, digits, or a combination of both. Smaller numbers are usually written in words. You can either write smaller numbers in words or you can write them in full digits. For example, you can say there were 100 people at the bar. Write that in digits, 100. Or you could say there were about 100 people at the bar. You write that in words. For larger numbers, you can use a combination of both words and digits. So I could say there were 1.5 million people at the bar. 1.5 in digits, million written in words. Because writing 1.5 million in digits or in figures might be unwieldy for me in the test. Again, when expressing numbers, it could be expressed as either words or digits or figures. Smaller numbers can either be words or figures, while larger numbers can be a combination of both. Remember, the shortest and simplest is usually the best. If I'm writing a number like 75 and I am not sure of the spelling, I would not write it in words. I would write it as a digit or as a figure. Be sure, be very, very certain that you are getting the spellings of the numbers correct if you're going to write them in words. Otherwise, just stick to writing them in digits or as figures. Proportions is another aspect that usually throws up a lot of challenge for test takers. Proportions can be written either as fractions or as percentages. Proportions, I repeat, can either be written as fractions or as percentages. You could say that over half of the people who attend church services prefer to go during the daytime. Half there will be expressed as a fraction, which is 1/2. Or I could write it in words. Or I could say over 50%, which will also be equal to 1/2. 50% also significantly, also easily expresses the idea of half. So you can express proportion either as a percentage or as a fraction. If you're going to be using them interchangeably, please be very sure that they are expressing the exact ideas or information that you want to convey. For proportions that are not accurate, that are not exact, useful expressions include slightly over, a little under, slightly under, about or approximately, roughly, well over, or well under. For quantifiers, you could use expressions like a large number, a few, a significant number, several, or a small amount of. 4 things that you must do to achieve maximum success in the academic writing task 1 are these. you must write a clear introductory statement which describes the visual information that you can see. The second thing that you should do is to write an overview which summarizes the main features of the visual information provided. The third thing that you are doing is to follow the instructions by summarizing the information, reporting on the main features, and then lastly, you make comparisons where relevant. And wrap all this up by ensuring that you write at least 150 words. In a subsequent video, we will be going through answering a sample writing task 1 question where I will be putting all these tips and all these strategies that I have mentioned into practice so that you can see how they are used in answering a question and you can apply them too when you're doing your own personal practice. Like I said earlier, the writing task 1 is a 20-minute task, which means that you do not have so much time. You do not have so much time to do so much thinking. You do not have enough time to put in so many details or explain at length. What they need you to do is to report, select, summarize the main features and the main comparisons where relevant. Do this and you can be assured of getting a desired high score in the writing section of the IELTS test.